Minister, you are welcome to the House, and I just think it's great that you come in to deal with your legislation on such a regular basis. And I know we've spoken before about ministers having respect for the House, but you show it in spades, and you're very welcome as always. This bill is part of the commitment in the programme for government, because the commitment was to embrace and develop the new technologies that are there within Garda Síochána to enable them to take full advantage of the new technologies to do their job more effectively. And things like facial recognition, that's in operation in many jurisdictions, and particularly when you go through airports and so on. To enable Garda Síochána to be able to utilise and benefit from this type of technology is something that makes absolute sense, and I'm glad to hear that it's recognised across the House that this is a step in the right direction. AI is something that we're all trying to get our heads around, but clearly it's something that is going to define society in the future. It is the next generation, if you like, the same way as social media was the generation of, let's say, the early noughties. This is the next generation, and Garda Síochána need to be on top of it and need to benefit from it. We don't need to be laggers when it comes to this. We need to be out in front. And similarly to how we were European leaders when it came to the Criminal Assets Bureau, and it's now being emulated by other jurisdictions. We need to adopt the same approach when it comes to embracing technology, given the fact that so many of the tech giants have their European headquarters based in Dublin. We need to, I suppose, reflect that in terms of our modern policing. Having been on the scrutiny committee, the political scrutiny committee of Europol, for 7 or 8 years, and having attended their meetings on a regular basis in Brussels and other European countries, I know how committed Europol is to embracing technology and sharing technology. And we need to be front and centre as part of that. So, Minister, in terms of the legislation, it's absolutely welcome, and it's good to see the justice elements of the programme for government being implemented in a very judicious way, and I'd like to commend you for that as well. Just on another issue, Minister, you were in Clare a couple of weeks ago, and I thank you for that. It was a visit that was organised by Deputy Cathal Crowe, and you spoke at the Ennis Chamber, and you also met a group of business people along with public reps in Ennistymon. And Minister, there is a major issue with the lack of Gardaí in the Ennistymon Kilrush, which is now amalgamated into one, if you like, district. Last Saturday night, Minister, there was an absolute shortage of personnel on the ground. I believe there was only one patrol car operating between Kilrush and Ballyvaughan that Saturday night, and that patrol car was diverted to Seanad because a plane had to be protected. That just leaves the system vulnerable, and I know it's a policing matter, and I know it's a matter for the Garda Commissioner, but to be fair to our Chief Superintendent in Clare, he can only deal with the resources he has, and he has to deploy them as he sees fit, and it's a loaves and fishes scenario. So, Minister, maybe you might be able to do something in terms of additional resources in the Clare division, that situations like this don't happen at weekends, because last weekend was a beautiful weekend. You're talking about Kilkee and Lahinch, which balloon a population when the weather is like this. And we cannot have a situation where there's vulnerabilities in the system. So I would appeal to you to do that. But come back to the legislation. I just think it's great to see this legislation being introduced to take full advantage of modern technologies and modern innovations, so as Garda Síochána can more effectively, efficiently and determinedly do their job.
Minister to reply.
Yeah, thanks very much, Cathaoirleach. I just want to start by thanking all senators for their contributions. I'll just try and deal with the issues senators raised. I agree with Senator Gallagher at the outset when he said that one of the benefits of this legislation will be that it will prevent and stop Gardaí having to spend hours of time ploughing through vast amount of data or video footage. I saw that myself this time last year when I was down in Store Street Garda station, and at that time there was a number of Gardaí spending hours going through video footage from the Dublin riots, which had taken place back, as you know, in November 2023, trying to identify individuals in the video footage to see were they the same as the people who they have other video footage of going to a different location. So there's a real benefit in terms of an Garda Síochána here in terms of freeing up Garda time so that we can use technology, and instead of Gardaí having to sit in front of video screens for large periods of time, we can do technology can do that, and the Gardaí can be free to do other more important and productive work. And Senator Gallagher is right in saying that really what we're talking about here as well is balancing the rights of privacy between the rights of the public to be protected as well and to give more powers to the Gardaí. I thank Senator McDougall for his full support. Senator McDougall said the bill itself may be too restrictive. As I mentioned earlier, there will be more legislation coming forward. I suppose when you look at what biometric analysis is, retrospective biometric analysis, to use the example of, say, Store Street, where the guards are looking at the video, when we have technology, the technology will now be able to assist the Gardaí because they'll be able to find out rapidly whether the person they see maybe robbing the shop during the riot in November 2023 is the same as the person coming off a bus on Rathmines where we have other video footage. And that will clarify, that's why it's called retrospective analysis. It's not measured against a database of identifiable people. Instead, you're looking to see whether the face in one video footage or the image in one video footage is the same as the image in another. And that's why it's so important in terms of missing persons inquiries, because you have the image of the person and you can check to see whether it is in another one as well. I note what Senator McDougall said about the data retention rules and the rulings of the CJU. As a result of the decision of the CJU, in fact, we now don't have a legislative instrument from Europe, a modern legislative instrument that deals with data retention. And it really is important for the purpose of police investigations, not just in Ireland, but throughout Europe, that there is a live and effective directive or regulation that's in place for the purpose of data retention for law enforcement. When serious crimes are committed, the public expect that all information that's available that can be investigated for the purpose of resolving that crime, that they are used. Senator Bohan spoke about the Oireachtas Library Research Team. I know that their work is excellent. I'm aware of the recommendations as well of the Oireachtas Committee on Justice. As has been indicated, some of the recommendations have been included. I look further at the library document which he referred to. We obviously need to be using modern technology. Sometimes people are fearful of technology. I know in the lower house there were references to how sometimes this type of technology, there are reports showing that it was or can be inaccurate. But many of them are reports from many years ago. This technology has advanced considerably. I'm sure most of us here use it for the purpose of starting our phone or doing banking information. So it is technology that is advancing every day. 2 days ago, myself and Minister Brophy were out in Dublin Airport for the purpose of launching the new e-gates. And that's a real example of biometric facial analysis, because you put your passport in and there's a photograph then taken of your face, and what they're doing is they're comparing the photograph of the face of the person in the airport with the face on the passport that's being analysed. So this technology is getting better all the time, and I think we shouldn't be fearful of it, particularly since criminals are now really using technology to advance their criminality. We should be using technology to stand up to them. Very much welcome the support from Senator Kelleher, and he correctly spoke about AI, and also the modern challenges require modern methods of investigation. That repeats the point I just mentioned. We do need modern methods of investigation, and we shouldn't shy away from them because they're new or they're modern. I remember years ago, and maybe this was when Senator McDougall was a Minister for Justice, but like initially prior to DNA, there was a concern as to whether or not DNA evidence was reliable. And obviously we have gone through many years of the expertise of that of technology and that science, and it has proven to be very reliable, and it has resulted in many cases being resolved. So we have to move with the times in terms of using technology. I thank Senator Collins for her contribution and recognition that it can play a very positive role. Senator Collins said she has a fear, and I'm sure many people do, about living in a surveillance society. Like in many respects, however, and not just through the state, but like there are cameras everywhere. And when you see a crime is being committed, some of the first things that the Gardaí will do is look to get the camera footage, whether it's from cars passing by or shops in the vicinity. Particularly in the case of cities, there's a huge amount of coverage of what's happening on the streets. Now, it's a huge assistance, I have to say, on Garda Síochána when it comes to investigating criminal acts or missing persons. So I'm conscious there's a balance there, but like shops and cars have these cameras. We know ourselves if something happens out in the streets, people also use these cameras as well. And I know it causes some offence that people are videoing things in public, particularly the sharing of them, but the footage can be of use to the investigation. Senator Collins expressed concern about that, the information or the technology shouldn't be misused, and I think she expressed some concern about maybe using it in a live scenario. Like, I do intend to bring forward legislation to provide for live biometric analysis and identification. And I just think when we come to discuss that, and it's not in this bill today, but when we think about the guard who's standing at the top of Grafton Street, and he's been told, keep an eye out for this well-known criminal. Like the guard at the top of Grafton Street, who happens to see or recognises the criminal coming up and is able to apprehend him, is it that different from there being a camera at the top of Grafton Street, which has information about the criminal and can then identify him through walking up and tip off the Gardaí in respect of it? I know it's a contentious issue, but it is something I think we cannot ignore, and it can again create efficiencies in the work of Garda Síochána. Just if I can take Senator Collins up on one thing, she referred to a recruitment and retention crisis. Even the GRA now aren't referring to it as a crisis, because there is no retention crisis. The number of resignations from Garda Síochána is less than 1%, which is bizarre and highly unusual in comparison to the PSNI and all the constabularies in the UK. Like less than 140 resigned from the force in 2024, I think it was. So retention is really high in Garda Síochána. And in respect of recruitment, like later on this year, we'll have the biggest number of sworn members of Garda Síochána in the history of the force, and I believe by the end of the year we will be at or very close to 15,000 sworn members. And of course that doesn't take into account the 3,500 staff who do really important work as well, that frees up the Gardaí to do their frontline work. And finally, I thank Senator Conway for his contribution in respect to the programme for government, and like AI or something, obviously across the range in government we're going to have to just adapt ourselves to, so that we can avail of the benefits of it whilst ensuring that the threats aren't too accentuated. I hear what you say, Senator Conway, in respect to Clare, a very pleasant and enjoyable visit down there, but I suppose one thing that was consistently said to me down there was that there needs to be more Gardaí in Clare. As you know, I don't go around directing the Commissioner, but I certainly have passed on to him the concerns of the elected representatives in Clare. But aside from that, it was a very hospitable visit, and I thank you and my colleagues for the invitation. Thanks very much.